Pause for a second. Think about the last time you felt like your life was predictable, that everything followed an invisible script you didn't choose and can't clearly see. You wake up at the same time, do the same things, see the same people, in patterns that repeat like a well-oiled gear. You know every variable, you know every move. It's like you've been dancing the same choreography for years, and the music never changes. And when you try to do something genuinely different, when you really push yourself to step out of line, when you say no, this time it'll be different. Something always seems to push you back. An inner voice that whispers, but what if this doesn't work? An unexpected complication that rises. A perfectly logical, rational, sensible reason to return to your safe place. To return to the familiar dance. This isn't paranoia. This isn't depression. This isn't a lack of ambition. This is life. Or at least, it seems to be life. Now imagine that everything you experience every moment, every encounter, every obstacle that appears before you, every opportunity that rises and disappears before you fully understand is literally a television show. That every single thing in your life has been carefully scripted by someone behind an invisible camera. That your family, your friends, even your moments of profound loneliness have been planned. That the people you love have been instructed on how to behave. That uneasiness you feel, that persistent feeling that something isn't right. That emptiness, even though you have everything has been accounted for and predicted. Welcome to the world of Truman Burbank. And today, we're not just going to talk about a science fiction film that became a cultural classic. We're going to decode Truman's entire journey as a complete map, like a psychological mirror, to understand the invisible prisons you've built around yourself. The cages you don't even realize you've closed in on yourself. The chains you've mistaken for freedom. And most importantly, we'll give you the real psychological tools, grounded in behavioral analysis and psychoanalytic theory, to escape them. Because here's the most disturbing truth you'll hear today. You're living your own Truman Show right now, this very moment. And the only real difference between you and Truman is that you haven't yet seen the spotlight falling from the sky. You haven't yet experienced the jolt of truth that makes it impossible to return to comfortable ignorance. Let's begin by deeply understanding Truman's life before the revelation. His existences, by any possible objective measure, perfect. His house on Seahaven Island is orderly, clean, with that suburban style that represents absolute security. The walls are beige, the furniture is functional, everything is in its place. His job as an insurance agent is safe literally. He works selling security to other people. No genuine risks, no real uncertainties, nothing that could fail or surprise him. He has friendly neighbors who always show up at precisely the same time to greet him. He has an ex-girlfriend who still genuinely loves him. He has a faithful friend, Marlon, who is always there, always by his side, always available. Every variable has been optimized for maximum peace of mind, for maximum predictability, for maximum living death. But then, something strange happens. A spotlight falls from the sky during his routine breakfast. It doesn't fall far. It falls close enough for him to notice, for him to question, for him to be unable to fully rationalize. He sees flaws, inconsistencies, people repeating themselves. The TV begins to pick up strange frequencies, and someone is narrating his life. The streets seem to circle back to the same place, like a video game on loop. People disappear when he's not looking, when he sees that spotlight falling. Bright, artificial, something deep and primal awakens within him, a restlessness he can't ignore, no matter how much he tries to deny it, no matter how much someone tries to reassure him and tell him he's imagining things. Now, think with me. Recognize this feeling deeply. Do you know it? Recognize someone close to you who feels this way every day. Do you feel this uneasiness? This sense that something is wrong? Better yet, are you that person right now? Are you watching this video because you feel exactly this way? You have a good job. Your life is stable. You have financial security. You've paid the bills. You have food in the fridge. You have a roof over your head. You have the approval of practically everyone around you. Your parents are proud. Your friends think you're successful. But then why? When you lay your head on the pillow at night, when you're alone in the dark room before bed, do you feel this deep, undeniable emptiness? This feeling that something crucial, something fundamental, is missing? You feel like you were created for something much greater, for something that matters, for something that would leave a mark on the world. But instead, you settled for something significantly less. You settled for the bare minimum. You settled for enough to avoid criticism, but not enough to be fulfilled. Truman has accepted this security for so long, literally since birth, that he completely forgets he's accepted a prison. The prison has become so familiar, so normal, so integrated into his identity that he's begun to confuse security with freedom. He's confused predictability with peace. He's confused approval with love. And this confusion, this is the most sophisticated psychological trap. The hardest to escape, because it doesn't feel like a trap. And here's the psychological twist that's absolutely crucial for you to understand at a cellular level. The greatest crime of a comfortable prison is that it feels exactly like freedom. When you're inside it, it feels like the most natural thing in the world. Your father never physically locked you in a locked room. Your society never condemned you with clear, direct words saying, "You are in captivity. You are a prisoner." Instead, you've been domesticated so subtly, so gradually, so psychologically, that you completely believe the invisible bars are just the normal walls of an ordinary, expected life. But they're not normal walls. You simply learned, through thousands of small reinforcements, small social punishments, small humiliations, not to crash into them. You've learned that trying is painful. You've learned that questioning is dangerous. You've learned that ambition is selfish. And worse, you've learned that trying to escape will hurt you, will disappoint you, will fail you. And to avoid feeling this potential pain, you simply stopped trying. You stopped questioning, and you called it acceptance. You called it maturity. You called it being realistic. Now let's introduce the true antagonist of this story. It's not the studio. It's not the camera. It's not the audience of millions watching at home. The true antagonist is Christoph. He's the show's creator, the invisible television director who controls every aspect of Truman's reality. Every light, every sound, every person, every event. Christoph sits at a gigantic control panel, literally at the top of Truman's world, and orchestrates every detail. But Christoph isn't merely a traditional antagonist. Christoph isn't an obvious villain you can point to and call evil. Christoph is the perfect archetype, the absolute embodiment of the tyrant father god. He's that primordial figure who creates an entire world and offers Truman absolute security, guaranteed nourishment, material comfort, structured companionship, even carefully constructed meaning and purpose. But in return, he demands complete, unconditional, total obedience. He demands absolute submission to the reality he's constructed, without question, without doubt, without ever attempting to step outside the boundaries he's established. And here's the most terrifying, the most psychologically profound part of this analysis. Christoph isn't malevolent. He's not trying to be malicious. Here's the crucial point that changes everything in the psychological analysis. He genuinely, sincerely, deeply believes he's doing good, that he's acting out of love, that he's protecting Truman. He tells the audience, without a hint of doubt in his voice, That Truman is incapable of dealing with the true reality of the outside world. That Truman is too fragile, too sensitive, not prepared enough. That the world out there is dangerous, chaotic, violent, destructive, and dehumanizing. And so, out of genuine love, out of paternal protection, Christoph keeps Truman in his safe studio where nothing can hurt him. Christoph truly believes he is saving Truman. Does this sound familiar? Think of every time someone in your life has said, with love in their eyes, "This isn't safe for you. You are not ready for this. The world is too cruel for someone as sensitive as you. You'll get hurt if you try. Just trust me and accept things as they are. Because I have more experience, more age, more knowledge. And you're still very innocent." Christoph is that voice, multiplied tenfold, 100-fold, literally echoing in every channel of your life, from your earliest childhood. That voice could have been your father, your mother, a teacher who said, "You're no good at math," a classmate who said, "People like us don't win awards," your social environment that whispered, "Your place is here, not there." Christoph's voice is all of this combined, internalized, until you can no longer distinguish between your own voice and the external voice, until you truly believe that limits come from within you, not from without. Truman's journey begins when he, for the first time, decides to completely ignore this protective voice, this internalized voice of Christoph. He wants to go to Fiji. He wants to cross the ocean. He wants to experience the truly unknown. And what is his greatest psychological obstacle? It's not another person. It's a phobia, a genuine anxiety about the sea, mysteriously implanted in his mind since childhood. His father, in the film, supposedly drowned. Christoph cultivated this phobia methodically, repeatedly, ensuring that Truman would be utterly afraid of the very thing that would set him free. Phobia is an internalized prison, and here lies the critical foreshadowing that prepares everything to come. That structures the final truth, Truman's greatest enemy. The true force that imprisons him is not the studio walls that physically surround him. It's not the ever-present camera. It's not Christoph or his well-trained actors. It's not even the visual illusion that surrounds him. It's not the studio itself. The true enemy, the true prison, is the fear that has been carefully implanted and cultivated in his mind since his first day of life. It's the anxiety that now paralyzes him. It's the internalized voice that says, "You can't. You are not capable. The world is too dangerous for you. You'll die. You'll fail. You'll get hurt." The real prison was never around him, in the outer walls, in the invisible cameras. It was always inside him, in his own cortex, in his own limbic system, in his own synapses. And this is the most important, most disturbing lesson you need to absorb right now. Your prison is also inside you. It's not external, it's internal, it's psychological, and that's why it's so hard to escape. Because you can't point it out, you can't touch it, you can't see it clearly. Now let's elevate our understanding of this story to a level of ancient and timeless depth, to a truth that transcends the film and touches upon the entire history of philosophy and human psychology. Over 2,000 years ago, the Greek philosopher Plato, in his work The Republic, imagined a disturbing and profound allegory. Prisoners chained in a cave since birth. These prisoners are positioned so that they can only see the wall in front of them. They can't turn down. They can't leave. They are fixed. Behind them, there is a fire they can't see. And between the fire and the prisoners, objects constantly pass, casting shadows on the wall for these prisoners throughout their lives, perhaps for decades, perhaps for centuries in terms of generations. The shadows are not just a representation of reality. The shadows are not an analogy or a metaphor. The shadows are complete and absolute reality. They don't know they're shadows. They don't know there is fire, that there is a three-dimensional world behind them. The two-dimensional, black and white shadows are their existential totality. It's all they know. It's all they can imagine. Now, imagine when one of these prisoners is finally freed. Someone releases his chains. He turns round, and what does he see? Fire. It hurts his eyes, accustomed to the darkness. It's disturbing, it's confusing. His mind resists the information because it doesn't fit with what he's always believed to be true. He can't believe that fire could create those shadows he's observed all his life, that he studied, that he knew as the totality of reality. Then, slowly, he manages to leave the cave. He steps out into the world of the sun. He sees real objects, real depth, real colors in all their infinite variations, and he has to literally reconstruct his entire understanding of reality. Every truth he believed now needs to be revised. Every conclusion he drew about the world is now wrong. And here's the most crucial part of the allegory that Plato wants you to understand at its deepest level. When this freed prisoner returns to the cave to try to free the others, to share the truth about the outside world, the prisoners still chained don't believe him. In fact, they ridicule him. They attack him because the truth is so terrifying, so different from everything they know, that it's psychologically much safer to deny it, to disavow it, and to return to the comfortable illusion of the shadows. The freed prisoner wants to save them, but they prefer the darkness. The Truman Show is precisely Plato's cave allegory interpreted for the modern era, adapted for the 21st century, but with a crucial twist that makes it all the more relevant and frightening. The shadows on the wall, the beliefs you've never questioned, aren't just the television you watch. They're not just the show Truman watches and passively accepts. The shadows on the wall are the fundamental beliefs that structure your entire identity. They're the assumptions about who you are, about what's possible, about how the world works. They're the expectations your family deeply implanted in you before you even learned to speak, when your brain was still forming, when you were completely vulnerable and without psychological defenses. They're the "this is how things work" assumptions you've slowly absorbed from the culture around you, from the media, from the people you love, from the educational system, from the religion you practice or reject, from unspoken social norms. Your personal Christoph can have many different faces. It could be your father saying, "Don't dream too big, son. You might get hurt." It could be your mother saying, "Safety above all else. Never take unnecessary risks." It could be a teacher saying, "You are not smart enough for that." It could be society whispering through 1,000 different channels. Follow the established script. School, then college, then secure job, then home, then kids, then retirement, then death, in that order, without deviating. Or it could simply be the messages you've absorbed from your environment since birth. Messages so subtle you didn't even realize you were receiving them. Messages about your worth, about your potential, about what people like you can achieve in life. And here's the insider knowledge, the truth most people never grasp in their lives. You don't hate your chains because you've never actually seen them. You've never touched them. You've never examined them with attention and genuine questioning. You're perfectly comfortable in the shadows because you've never experienced true sunlight. You have no comparison. Your greatest defense of constructed reality, your greatest reason for not questioning limitations, is genuine ignorance that a real alternative exists. You can't desire what you've never seen. You can't pursue what you don't know is possible. Knowledge is the first and most fundamental key. Recognizing that you're in a cave, that the world you perceive is merely a two-dimensional shadow of a much larger reality, is literally the first inevitable step to getting out of it. Without this recognition, you're trapped. With it, you at least have the chance to choose. There's a moment in the film that's absolutely critical. The visual and psychological climax of everything that had been carefully constructed up until that. Truman, through countless attempts, through Christoph's atmospheric manipulation, through carefully placed obstacles in his path, through direct interference with his thoughts, finally manages to reach the ocean. He boards a small boat. He faces a storm that Christoph created specifically to frighten him, to paralyze him. And after all this psychological struggle, all this courage, all this determination, he manages to navigate through the storm that wanted to destroy him. And then your boat hits the wall. He literally crashes into a physical wall painted with the perfect illusion of the sky's horizon. The wall is so beautifully painted that it looks as real as the real sky. An illusion so perfect that not even Truman, already suspicious, already questioning, already suspicious of everything round him, could see through it until the last second. Until the crash was inevitable, the reality Truman had constructed in his mind, no matter how much he questioned it, shattered completely in that instant. That sound, that impact, that feeling of solidity where there should have been open air. There is no more doubt. There is no more possibility of rational denial. There is no more maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm imagining things. There are no more rationalizations he can fabricate. He touches the wall. It's real. It's physical. It's tangible. It's undeniable. And then, with absolute clarity, with a certainty that cannot be questioned, Truman knows everything he lived, everything he knew as truth, was a lie. His entire life was a stage. Every person was an actor. Every day was a carefully scripted episode. Now, here is the immediate practical application to your life, to your true reality, outside of the movie, in the reality you are living in right now as you listen to this. What is the wall of heaven in your life? What is that reality? That barrier, that impossibility that you keep bumping into, year after year, no matter how hard you try, no matter how hard you strive, no matter how hard you work. Maybe it's the fundamental belief that I'm not good enough. You try to thrive at your job. You work twice as hard as your colleagues. You stay late. You study. You improve. You develop. But something always sabotages you. You get a promotion, but at the same time you think you didn't really deserve it. You receive a genuine compliment from someone you respect, but immediately find a reason to dismiss it, to undo the compliment in your mind. This belief, this is the painted wall. You are literally sailing through your entire life, bumping against an illusion that seems as real as the horizon. Maybe it's the belief that it's too late to change. You're 35, 40, 50 years old, and you think you've missed your chance. That you should have started sooner. That you're now stuck on the path you chose decades ago. That there's no going back. But the truth, the hard to accept truth is that this is a wall painted by your own mind, not an immutable reality of the universe. You're bumping into an illusion, believing it to be solid. Maybe it's my family will disapprove, or people will judge my failure, or I'll be alone if I get out of this, and you sacrifice your genuine dreams, your authentic desires, to maintain this phantom approval from people who, in reality, have their own paralyzing fears and limitations that they pass on to you as wisdom. Identify your wall now, not later, not when you have time. Now, touch it mentally. Genuinely question it with all the psychological honesty you can muster, and ask yourself this question with absolute seriousness. Is this truly impossible? Or have I simply accepted a message someone planted in my mind decades ago, when I was vulnerable and defenseless? The reward Truman receives at the end isn't what most people would expect in a traditional liberation story. He doesn't escape the studio and live happily ever after in Fiji, surrounded by palm trees, tropical sunsets, and endless peace. No. The true reward is much more psychologically sophisticated than that. It's much more real than a fairy tale ending. Christoph, the creator, offers Truman the chance to return. He genuinely offers it. It's not a deception or a final manipulation. It's a genuine choice to return to the comfortable illusion, to return to Sea Haven Island, where everything is safe, predictable, where he is loved by everyone, where nothing can hurt him, where he will not suffer, where he will be cared for. And in that moment, Truman has a genuine and terrifying choice before him. The false security he knows, which is comfortable, which is guaranteed, versus the unknown truth that frightens him, that is uncertain, that could hurt him, that could disappoint his hopes. And this is where true heroism lies, not in liberation itself, but in the conscious choice to face the unknown, to embrace uncertainty. Truman chooses the truth. He chooses to face the real world. Why does he do this? Because somewhere deep, in some part of his soul that Christoph has never been able to fully control, Truman understands a fundamental psychological truth that transcends logic, the psychological benefit of freedom. Even when frightening, even when uncertain, even when potentially painful, is always vastly superior to the gilded prison of blissful ignorance. Because even if the outside world were exactly as dangerous as Christoph suggested, the dignity of facing true reality is more valuable than the comfortable safety of perpetuated lies. Now, callback. Remember that initial feeling you had when you started watching this video? In that first minute, that restlessness you felt in your chest, that emptiness even with security, that silent whisper that says there's more for you, there's something you've missed, there's something you were made to do and aren't doing. Well, that feeling is your spotlight falling from the sky. It's your deep, primal nervous system struggling to communicate with your conscious mind. It's your mind's nervous system urgently saying, something's not right here. The reality you've accepted as truth has cracks. There's more to you than this. You were made for more. Let's contrast to specific moments in the film. At the beginning, at the start of each day, Truman utters an automatic, robotic, emotionless phrase, "Good morning," and in case we don't see each other, "Good morning," "Good afternoon," and "Good evening." He's an automaton, a perfect repetition, a product of complete psychological programming. He says exactly what's expected, when expected, without deviation, without surprise, without authenticity. At the end, when he walks through the door to leave the studio, when he finally leaves Sea Haven Island to face the unknown, he bows first. It's a small gesture, easy to overlook if you're not paying attention, but it means absolutely everything. He's bowing before the unknown with genuine respect, with authentic humility, with true vulnerability, but most importantly, with genuine and conscious choice. For the first time in his life, in every aspect of his existence, Truman is acting as a truly autonomous being, not as a character following a script pre-written by someone powerful. When you walk through your own door, when you finally test the wall that holds you back, when you make the choice your heart always knew you should make, you too will bow before the unknown. And that vulnerability, that genuine openness, that willingness to not know where you're going, to embrace uncertainty, is exactly where true strength lies. Not in muscular strength, not in logical strength, but in the psychological strength of remaining human. Let's condense everything we've explored into a singular truth. A phrase I want you to carry with you when you close this video. When you leave here, when you face your day, the safest cage is still a cage. And freedom begins the moment you decide to test the walls. You don't need a dramatic revelation like Truman. You don't need a literal spotlight to fall from the sky and force you to wake up. You can start now, today, this second, with a small decision, an action that your inner Christoph, that voice that implanted fears in you, told you was impossible, dangerous, or wrong. A healthy boundary you establish with someone who has silently worked to keep you small. A door you open even when you're scared. Truman escaped from a false reality to a true one. But here's the disturbing question we must explore together. The question that will keep you awake at night wondering, what if reality itself becomes a nightmare? What if the truth of the outside world is so brutal, so dark, so dehumanizing, that you need real, deep, psychologically sophisticated tools to keep from losing yourself completely in it? If this video touched something deep within you, if that feeling of restlessness you've always had, that emptiness you couldn't explain, that feeling of something missing, now has a name, structure, and understanding, subscribe to the channel, because next week we'll go deeper, much deeper, into the darkness that exists after liberation, into the brutal reality that awaits when you finally open your eyes. The truth is waiting, and this time you're not alone.